can get chatting. Oh.
Cool.
So today's episode, we have a three-time Tony nominee for his roles in Seussical, The Addams Family, and Dirty Blonde. In his incredible prolonged career, he's shown people around the world that he can do it all. From publicist in The Prom and chef in Ratatouille to Horton the Elephant in Seussical and the Wonderful Wizard of Oz in Wicked. You may also know him as Bertram in Disney Channel's Jessie. So everyone, welcome to Take a Bow, Kevin Chamberlin. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Eli. It's good to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is really cool for me and for everybody listening, I know for sure. I want to talk to you. You have such an incredible career and one that is very unique. You have a lot of different like audiences, I guess I could say. But before we get into all of that, I kind of like to start out my episodes and asking my guests who like how they got started in the industry and kind of what inspired them to want to be an entertainer and tell stories.
Right. Well, I grew up in South Jersey in a little town called Wardstown, and they had an active Parks and Recreation summer theater, and I got cast as Huck Finn in Tom Sawyer,
Oh,
and because we had just moved to town and I didn't have any friends, and my mom was like, "You should go." You like. I was sort of obsessed with the movie Oliver when I was a kid,
oh
and
yes.
it was the reason I started learning how to play the piano,
Wow.
which came in handy, when you're going into musical theater. And so I just started doing musical after musical with my town's Parks and Recreation summer theater, and then in high school. And I went to Rutgers University and got a,
Mm.
a BFA in acting there. And by the time I got out of college, I felt like I had this real good technique. It was, they teach Meisner at Rutgers, and I was ready to hit New York. And I moved to Jersey City because I couldn't
y-
afford New York,
Sure.
and in 1985, and I had all these jobs. I was Santa Claus at Macy's,
Oh wow.
and then I got my first Broadway show. Well, I did a lot of regional theater, and one musical that I did. Have you ever heard of Smoke on the Mountain?
I have not.
It's a bluegrass gospel musical that the people from Pump Boys and Dinettes were involved, and it was one of those musicals where everyone plays on stage
Sure.
an instrument, and it's about a bluegrass gospel family in 1938. And we were at the Lambs Theater, which is now a hotel and restaurant on 44th Street, and we
Wow.
had a year-long run there, and that was my first big show in New York, and that was off Broadway. And
Hmm.
then I got the chorus of My Favorite Year with your friend Andrea Martin from Pippin,
Yes.
and I started in the chorus, and boy, if you look at the names in that chorus, it just Michael McGraw, Rob Ashford,
Mm.
um, Nora Mae Ling, who is no longer with us, and Alan Maroka, who's on Sesame Street now,
Right.
um, and
Wow.
so many people, and it was just a great cast, and but a flop.
Yeah.
So that was my first taste of New York. Broadway was a big flop musical, and I would have many more. But,
Yeah, that's okay.
then I started getting into TV and film, and my first big movie was Die Hard with a Vengeance,
Yes.
as the bomb squad guy
I love
defusing
it.
the big bomb in the school, and then I started doing a lot of workshops, and I did this one workshop. It's kind of infamous. It's called Muscle,
Mm.
and it was originally a Sondheim musical that was supposed to be the second act of Passion,
Wow.
and Sondheim gave it up and gave it to Bill Finn to do. And Bill Finn and Ellen Fitzhugh wrote the score, and James Lapine directed it. And James and I hit it off, and we just became good friends. And he was like, "I really want to work with you."
Oh,
And I was just in the chorus of that.
right.
And he was in development with this idea about a play about Mae West, the old movie star. and he had commissioned Claudia Schiffer, who wrote a wonderful one-woman play called Blown Sideways Through Life. And he commissioned Claudia to write a piece about Mae West, and he said, "And I want you to write it for you and Kevin Chamberlin." So we
What?
started working on this thing, and 2 years later, after the first readings and workshop, it's on Broadway. And
Wow.
we open the night before the Tony nominations come out,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're all nominated. It's nominated for best play. The poster's behind me there,
Yeah.
um, and so that was my real big splash. I'd done a couple flops. Triumph of Love,
Mm,
which was a big flop with Betty Buckley. I'd done in '97,
sure.
and but Dirty Blonde, there's the stages of an actor's life. Have you ever heard this, where it's who's Kevin Chamberlin? So you're Kevin Chamberlin. Get me Kevin Chamberlin. Whatever happened to Kevin Chamberlin? Who's Kevin Chamberlin?
Right.
So that was the so you're Kevin Chamberlin moment.
Yes.
And but I had also been doing workshops of Seussical,
Oh,
and
wow.
Seussical was slated for Broadway the next season, and I had to leave Dirty Blonde 3 months after it opened to go
Wow.
start Seussical, which, if I had to do it all over again, I mean, I guess I would, because it's brought a lot of joy, and but it was a very traumatic experience too.
Really?
Seussical, yeah, 'cause it was a huge flop.
Yeah.
But
Well,
now it's one of the most produced musicals in America.
right. I always say like the flops on Broadway is really just like audiences not ready for the show.
Right.
Like there's always incredible art being produced at any time. As long as the show is getting to Broadway, like it should be on Broadway. It's just like are the audiences ready for it?
Well, it was the first show that suffered the internet reviewing
Mm.
and the chat boards.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of chat boards in
Wow.
2000, and so that kind of killed us out of
Sure.
town. We were being reviewed on the very first performance, and online, and no one knew how to deal with it. It was sort of unprecedented.
Yeah.
We were pioneers in that regard. And now, when you sign a Broadway contract, you have to sign an NDA, and you're not allowed to
Right.
go on those boards, and you never know. I remember us all we were all reading it so like every night. You'd go home to your hotel room and read how badly Seussical was doing out of
Oh
town.
gosh.
And then one day someone introduced themselves at the stage door, like, "Oh, I'm Crumaloom number 7, my handle," or something like that. And I'm like, and it's this 14-year-old kid.
No way.
And we had all been like, "Oh, I can't believe he didn't like the show."
Oh no.
So you never know the source of these chat
Right.
boards.
Yeah.
But Seussical was quite a journey, and then right after Seussical happened, 9/11 happened.
Right.
And I was like, my husband and I were like, let's go to LA, because he was doing well in television, and
Okay.
he's a television writer.
Wow.
And so we moved to LA in 2002.
So, I mean, that's just like insane. Like those 3 years. So you're first of all
Yeah.
you're getting a Tony nom for Dirty Blonde. Then the following year you're getting a Tony nom for Horton in Seussical, and then
Yes.
9/11 happens and you're leaving. Like,
Yes.
oh
It
my,
was
I can't
crazy.
imagine. What is life like in that Tony season? Like, especially like I know you did it in 2001, 2002, or 2000, 2001 area.
Yeah.
And then you did it again in like 2011 for the Addams Family. Like, how
Right.
did that kind of change with like media and stuff like that?
Well, again, the internet was a big deal in the beginning. It's interesting, when Tony Awards came around, Seussical had closed already,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the year of the producers.
Right.
And so, it just sweeped everything. So it's kind of fun knowing you're going to lose, going,
Yeah.
going, and you can just go with some friends and party it up. And the year before, with Dirty Blonde, I didn't think I was going to win, because I was up against these big hitters.
Right.
And then the New York Times, the Sunday before the Tonys, predicted that I would win.
Really?
And so I was like, "Oh, I better write a speech." But luckily, luckily Roy Dotrice, who was 82 years old, and
Right.
he had done Moon for the Misbegotten, and he got it, and I'm so glad he did. Um, but it's one of those things where it's like, and then when Addams Family with the Tony Awards, I felt like a seasoned professional going through the
Oh, yeah.
that whole month of the parties and and all the awards. There's so many, the drama leagues and
Right.
the drama desks and outer critics circle, and it's all these parties and all the schmoozing,
Yeah.
and you kind of have a perspective. I had more of a perspective on it being an older guy.
Yeah. It's just cool to be recognized for all of the hard work that you're putting into something, you know?
It
Like,
is.
even if you don't win, it's just like, wow, I'm being recognized.
And you really you run into people going, "Oh yeah, you're a Tony winner," and I just go, "Yeah," and I've never
Yeah.
won a Tony.
That's okay. That's okay. You can take credit.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, for sure. Take advantage of that.
Whatever
Uh,
you want to believe.
yeah. Right. I didn't tell you I didn't
No,
offer that. You kinda offered that to me. I'll let you think that. Oh my god, that's incredible. Well, so then you go into more of a television route. So you start out Broadway, yeah? Was that kind of like your goal?
it was. I got a television show in '95 while I was in New York. It was an amazing cast. It was Mary Tyler Moore,
Mm,
Madeline Kahn, Chris Maloney,
yeah.
Harold Perrineau Jr., George C. Scott, um, all these incredible actors. And it was based on the Daily News. It was a newspaper, a 1 hour drama.
Sure.
And but it flopped.
Mhm.
Again, seven. I think we ran 6 episodes, and I was
Wow.
the slow, mentally handicapped male clerk.
Oh, okay.
And it was fun. It shot a block from where I lived, and
Oh, that's awesome.
where the Chelsea Market is now,
Yeah.
where I guess Food Network is up in that building now. But we were sort of pioneers in that building, and
Wow.
then so that was my first big television thing, and then so when I came out here, um, my husband was in the television world, and we got to know a couple people, and they cast me in their shows, and there was one casting director out here who was a big New York theater fan, and he would cast Frasier and a couple
Oh,
other
yeah.
shows. And so I did a lot of episodics and some 1 hours, um, and then I did a series for Lifetime with Lily Taylor called State of Mind,
Mm,
and but I really was missing Broadway. I
really?
was really missing Broadway a lot, and they'd called to do Dirty Blonde in the West End,
Ah.
and so we went and did the original cast. We went and did Dirty Blonde there, and it flopped.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and because we opened in the summer, and it's a bad time
Uh,
to open, and then I came and did Chicago.
yes.
Played Amos in Chicago. I just couldn't stay away. So I was flying back and forth all the time doing workshops. And then when I was doing Chicago, they started workshops for Addams Family.
Wow.
And so I was in the very first workshops of that.
So is it like, when you're missing Broadway, is it more of like, I miss performing live, I miss the city? What is it?
All above,
All of the
all the
above.
above. I miss, when you're sitting in a trailer for 18 hours
Yeah.
waiting to do your one or two lines, you're like, is this what acting is about?
Yeah.
Is this why I got into this thing?
Right.
And I just missed that grind, that eight
Yeah.
show a week thing, and the community,
Yes.
my friends. I mean, New York, I can take it or leave it.
No.
I I do like the lifestyle out in LA better. I like having.
Okay.
I have I had a dog. She just passed away,
Oh,
but
I'm
I
sorry.
had a dog, and it's so much It's so much easier with a backyard and a dog.
Yeah. Oh my
And so we had found this beautiful house, and so I always wanted to come back here and make this my home base.
wow, okay.
um,
But you just liked the 8 shows a week, plus the workshops, plus the auditions, all of the things going on all at the same time.
I mean, come on, I mean, you've done it. It's a
Yeah.
great life. It's
It's
fun being in a Broadway show.
right. Never boring, right? Never a dull
Never
moment.
boring. Yeah, it was interesting because I was doing originating roles up until when I did Chicago. And then
Ah,
Chicago was such a machine. It's been running for so long. And they do this stunt casting. And so with the stunt casting, you're always rehearsing.
yeah.
So that was a little different experience. And then Wicked too is also, I think I had 6 Alphabas and 7
Oh my
Glindas
gosh.
in the year that I was in it.
In the
And just because
year? Oh
people,
my god.
well, just because people were on vacation and
Sure.
you always got to put people in.
Right.
We put in Brittany Johnson
Yes.
uh, during that year, and it was also the 15th anniversary, so we had to rehearse for television
Sure.
appearances and stuff. So that gets exhausting when
Mhm.
you have to be there during the day.
Sure.
Your days are so precious when you're in a Broadway show.
Yeah, I know, it's like, "Can I please sleep? I got home at 2 AM."
Yes. Ugh.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine doing it in masks. I don't know how people are doing it,
Yeah, right?
rehearsing in masks now. I mean, it's
Hopefully,
tough.
things are starting to lighten
Yeah,
up a little
I
bit
think
here.
they are. I think
Yeah.
they are.
So I gotta talk to you about Jessie. I mean, just an iconic role. You're in all of these iconic roles. You have Uncle Fester, you have Horton, like all of these things. Um, I have to talk to you about Bertram though, because that seems like just like as an outsider's perspective and like being an actor at the same time and having that like watching it just seems like craziness nonstop with a bunch of kids running around. You got 7-foot lizards, like all of these
Oh,
crazy things.
zebras, ostriches.
Right.
I
Like,
mean, every week there was a different animal.
I
Uh,
bet.
it was wild. I didn't know the Disney Channel at all. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
have any really concept, and it was the first thing I auditioned for when I got home from Addams Family.
Really?
And after like 6 callbacks, all of a sudden I'm now on a
Oh,
sitcom acting with 5 people under the age of 18,
right. Oh my gosh.
and with various acting experience. I
Mhm.
mean, Debbie had been on Sweet Life and
Right.
um, uh, and it was a real professional, and she kind of led the cast. But these 4 kids, they were very young. They were all under the age of 13.
Mhm.
They were 8 to 12, I think. And so it took a lot of patience,
Yeah.
but they taught me something too. They taught me um, how to play. And
Yeah.
we try to get back to that childhood imagination and being playful and fun, and it doesn't really mean as much to you. It's just because we kept trying to keep it fun for them, as opposed to they were working 8-hour days.
Mhm.
That very well as being a child actor. You have to do the school stuff, and
Yeah.
their schoolroom was on the second floor of the sound stage.
Oh,
And
wow.
so when they weren't rehearsing, they were up there. um, it's not a great education.
No.
It's not.
But it's cool, like, you know what you're saying, like, with TV and film and everything, you're kinda, like, waiting in your trailer nonstop. For us, it's kinda like, "Oh, no, go to school," like, so it's never,
Yeah.
like, waiting around too much for us, which is good because kids get too impatient very quickly.
Well, the great thing is I was on a kids rehearsal schedule, so you know we were out by 2:30 or 3
Oh,
every
wow.
day. So it was a great job. It's probably the best job I've ever had, because
Oh.
you're doing theater every week for a live audience,
Yeah,
um, and you get to rehearse, as opposed to arriving. Most movies, you arrive, you block, and you shoot.
right.
There really is very little rehearsal. So we got to fine tune comedy bits, but after the first, when it started to air, I started getting recognized. I'd go to the mall or something, and
Wow.
everyone has a phone and everyone
Yeah,
has a camera, and it changed my life completely.
really.
In New York, in those 10 blocks, you run into some theater fans, and
Sure.
you're like, oh, I saw you in Wicked, blah, blah, blah. Take a picture. I went into Times Square when Jessie was running and
Yeah.
was literally mobbed,
No.
mobbed by school groups,
Oh god.
it was crazy. It really, it gave me a totally new perspective, and the way the kids had to deal with it.
Mm,
and they were traveling around the world, and we're all sort of world famous now,
right.
because of that show, and it's now on 12 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've never expected that. I never
Yeah.
expected that kind of change in my life. It's kind of a, at the height of it, it kind of made you agoraphobic. You didn't really want to go out in public.
Sure. I can't
I
imagine.
kind of enjoyed the mask, and
Yeah. Sure, I bet. You would probably recognize less. You could put some sunglasses on, no one would
yeah.
know. Yeah.
But it's fun now. When people are like, "Does it bother you at all?" And I'm like, "Well, what's the alternative? Not being special?"
Right.
So
Totally.
it's fun. It's fun. And I'm almost 60 years old. It's great that
Wow.
little kids are, you know, running up and going, "Oh, can I take a picture?" It's
Aw.
sweet. It's sweet. But we had a lot of fun on that. There was a lot of craziness too, and it's very sad we lost Cameron,
Yeah.
to epilepsy. And so we're working a lot with the his foundation, the Cameron Boyce Foundation,
Yeah.
raising money for them, to find a cure for epilepsy. And but yeah, that show changed my life.
Well, how can we support that foundation and kind of like check out what you all
Oh
are
yeah, just
doing?
look up Cameron Boyce Foundation, and
Yeah.
if you're ever looking, around the holidays to give, or wherever, and they are a grassroots organization. They give to actors, the Actors Fund, and
Right.
a lot of different charities.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing what
they're
you all are
great.
doing over there for sure.
They're raising a lot of money.
Yeah. So I gotta talk to you about like the difference of the acting, because as an actor, I notice a bit of a difference between theater acting and like on screen acting. Did you see that shift with this show, like with Jessie, or was it kind of like theater acting was kind of the acting you could do for Jessie?
Well, when I teach a lot now, and I always say you have to look at the style of the show dictates how you're going to, or the content of the show dictates the style that you're going to act in.
Right.
And you wouldn't act the same way in a Disney Channel show that you would in Law and Order. So,
Right.
and that's the fun part of acting is, and if you have to hit the back of a 2,000 seat auditorium, you speak different than when you have a microphone attached to your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be malleable, and learn how to, um, act in the right style that the content demands. It's hard. It's harder than it's easier than it sounds, and harder than it looks.
Right.
But I had great training. I really did, and most training, I think most theater actors can tone it down. It's when you get the people who've done TV and film their whole life that when they get on stage and they have this tiny voice,
Yeah.
and they just can't go past the fifth row.
Interesting.
That's what separates the men from the boys, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought of it like that, because like we kind of just tone it up and then like our normal lives we can kind of tone it down. So we have that experience of doing both just
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah.
Interesting. Can you still do the Bertram cry or does that something that's
Well,
like
yeah.
not a
Do
thing?
you know where that's from?
What is that from? I've been
Oh,
dying to
it's the
know.
the Cowardly Lion in Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've met a lot of kids or you know adults in your generation that
Yeah.
have never seen Wizard of Oz. They've
Really?
seen Wicked and has haven't seen
Oh
Wizard
my
of Oz,
gosh.
so they
That's
didn't know. But yeah, it's
Oh my god. I love it. That is by far one of the, like, best things that Disney Channel has ever done, is had that, like, cry in a show. It's so funny.
well, I think I did it once for the writers, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're putting that in."
Yes. It works perfectly. It was amazing. It was a
They
great
take a
time.
lot of stuff from your own life. They'll interview you, and do past stuff like, I was a wrestler in high school. I was a
Oh,
New
okay.
Jersey heavyweight champ, and
No
so
way.
yeah, so there was an episode about wrestling where I teach the kids how to wrestle,
Wow.
and I was always doing my fakey opera voice. I have and so they wrote in that Bertram loves opera, and he's always singing around
Oh my god.
the apartment, and
Hilarious.
it was fun. It was fun.
That's amazing.
And then that audience, I noticed the kids were on Instagram all the time and Twitter.
Mm,
And so after the show was over, I was like, oh, maybe I'll start doing the social media thing. And that has now exploded
changed your
with,
life.
and it's how I found your show on TikTok.
Yes, and that what a great segue because now let's talk about TikTok. What you're doing there is hilarious. You're doing so many incredible videos and you're actually writing a lot of stuff I've seen. Like
Yeah.
you're writing songs and stuff like that, all all to like create the content for TikTok. Now, is that like stuff that you like to do, like with the whole creating videos? Like how much time and effort puts into creating it, writing it, filming it?
A lot of effort. And it kind of started right when Biden and Harris won in the
Sure.
election. And I made a quick video singing to the tune of Jessie, like,
Yes.
hey, Biden. And it just exploded in in a day.
Yeah.
I have a good friend, Sam Kite, who is in digital advertising, and he basically got me on TikTok, and
Wow.
now he produces and directs and films all of my videos. And
Wow.
he was the one who saw the Ratatouille trend,
Got it.
and he said, "You got to write a song for Ratatouille." And I hadn't seen the movie in years, and I watched it, and anyone can cook just jumps out at you
Sure.
right away. And I was like, "Oh, this is," and I wrote it in like 20 minutes
Really?
and posted it. The next morning I woke up and it had 1.5 million views.
Yeah.
And then the next day I got a call from the producers saying, "We want to do this as a social media event."
Sure.
And boy, it was within 6 weeks. It was cast, it was orchestrated. It was unprecedented. It's never been done before. And we
So
created a musical, a crowdsourced musical.
yeah, so you didn't even like you didn't even know that it was gonna be a musical? Like you didn't write it for it to be in a musical?
No,
That's
no,
crazy. And it just blew up and they were just like,
it blew
yours
up.
you we want you to sing your song.
Yeah, it was me and Andrew Barth Feldman
Yeah.
were the first. We were the two Broadway people who had posted,
Right.
and I think because we had gotten such a big response, the producers were like,
Oh my god.
"We got to do this," and they got amazing names, Wayne Brady, and
Yeah.
it was an incredible cast, and Titus Burgess, and
Right.
it was fun.
It was fun.
And we raised $2 million for the Actors Fund
Right, and it's very important time for
at a
a
very
lot of
important time.
actors.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, there was about what, like 2 million people watching it?
Yeah, I don't know. It was $5 a pop. So
Right,
for 400,000 would be 2 million. Boy, my math. Look at that.
insane. Yeah,
So it was really impressive. And then people have watched it since. It's on YouTube.
right.
And it's just and what a great score. I've always told Disney, I was like, you guys need to like do a Hollywood Bowl concert
Yeah,
of all the songs and for charity, or do
sure.
Carnegie Hall concert with a full orchestra, because the orchestrations are there.
Right.
It would be so much fun. It's a great score.
Yeah. Oh my God, great score, and it was with a bunch of young artists too.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the
I
coolest
was
thing
the old
about it.
guy.
Yeah, I mean, you were the veteran, you were teaching all these young guys. I loved it. But it was just so cool to see like how, especially with the writers and everything, kind of just get discovered during that process. I mean,
Yeah,
you had a star-studded cast, of course, but like everyone involved kind of was just like blew up because of it. It was just a fascinating project, and I'm so glad that it like worked out because you go into this pandemic and you're just like, "Oh, great, now we can't art has to go on pause, like we can't create." And you all were able to figure out how to do it with no scene partners in the room. Like you had to do it by yourself in your home. I
yeah.
like it
Oh, I
just
was filming on Christmas Eve.
really.
Yeah, with two friends in a friend of mine's kitchen.
Oh my
I
god.
it was, and I had to have an AirPod in one ear to hear the
The music.
accompaniment,
Yeah.
because they sent me the orchestration and said, you have to do this today, and you
What?
have to use these TikTok filters, and it
Yeah.
was all, and it was directed by Lucy. from Six, Lucy Moss.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So
That's
it was
right.
pretty, and we got a Emmy nom.
Right.
Or no,
Insane.
we're not nominated. It was being considered, but they had like huge billboards in Times Square,
Yeah.
like for your consideration, Ratatouille, the TikTok
It was
musical.
all over the place.
Yeah,
It was like
incredible.
one of the hottest things. Like anytime I opened my phone, it was like Ratatouille musical, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Instagram, whatever. I mean, like, is there hopes of making it like a live version?
We're hoping a concert, but Disney said no to actually doing it. But then
Interesting.
it inspired other writers, like someone did a Bridgerton
Right.
musical, and yeah, there's a couple now. And then I've been writing my own stuff. Like my friend Sam inspired me. He's a big Marvel geek, so he was like, "Oh, you gotta watch. I want to be in. You have to write like I want to be in a Marvel
Yes.
movie for Chris Kevin Feige." Like so he'll see it. They watch TikTok, so we created this. I wrote this song, and we wrote it together, and then we just got a little branding deal. So I can't really
With
say anything
Marvel?
about it. No, no, no,
Oh,
no. For a store, but that came
wow.
from the musical writing and the jingle writing. And
That's so cool. I
yeah,
was literally gonna ask you about that because, like, it's a great way as like an actor and a performer to like show your dream roles and get it out there to be like, hey, pitching myself here. Like,
yeah. Why
I
not?
was wondering if that was like actually a dream role of yours or not.
I'd love to be in one of those movies.
Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you a big Marvel
no
guy?
kidding. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I have a lot of catching up to do.
I love it. Yeah. There's a lot of
There's a
movies.
lot of them.
I'm catching up too. Trust me. It's okay. What are your dream roles? Like whether it's on like Broadway or TV and film?
I love doing original stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then I haven't really done a Shakespeare. I mean, I'd love to kind of
Oh.
growing into my Falstaff
Yeah.
uh, character now. So there's a lot of great old character actor roles that I could do in the regionals, and
Yes.
yeah, I think. But I love working on new plays and new musicals
Yeah.
and
Is
writing.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna say, is writing in the
yeah.
future, like writing, directing, like all of that fun
I
stuff?
I was I just directed a workshop at Pasadena Playhouse of a new musical
Yes.
last year, 2 years, well, right before COVID, and so that's in the works, and yeah, I've got a couple irons in that fire as well.
Wow,
Yeah,
amazing. So, but you want to do it all, basically. You want to continue just going, grinding.
yeah. I think I'm moving more towards the off stage.
Okay.
Um,
But you
uh,
got to stick with the TikToks and everything because they're
oh yeah,
amazing.
yeah. You don't have to do those 8 times a week.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah, I never thought of that. I mean, what you're doing with it is awesome, and you've grown such an amazing following
Oh my god, I
from
have one that's just now become an internet meme.
what?
The one of me throwing the pizza. Have you
Oh
seen
my
that one?
god.
It's now a meme.
I love it.
Uh,
It's crazy what people make, like you make your
it
own
is.
videos and then it just catches on and people just take take it with the
And
storm.
there's
Like,
no rhyme or reason. Some
no.
of them you post and you get like 100,000. One that took maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I have one where I'm just putting ketchup on a French fry in
Right.
my car. It's 35 million views, and it's partly because of the song. I think
Sure.
it's a Reba McEntire song, so that song creates a different algorithm.
Right.
That so here's an advice: if you're posting a TikTok, always attach a song to it.
Always. Okay.
Yeah, it
Good to
really it
know.
changes the algorithm a bit.
Okay. I have to say one of my favorite TikTok of yours is you responding to these death rumors that were going around that was
Yes,
happening and
my song "I'm Not Dead."
yes. I was like, first of all, like it was I'll never forget where I was. I was actually at my performing arts school in my performing arts class, and one of my friends turned over and said Bertram from Jessie just passed away. And I was like, "What?" And
uh,
then I mean, like that's crazy. Like whoever started that, like what is that like and like figuring out how to respond to that and like
Well,
You
you actually it was kind of moving because you hear from people, or Michael heard from people, it's actually you're living through your funeral. It's
right.
bizarre. Very few people actually get to experience that. I think
Yeah.
it happens in Tom Sawyer actually,
Yeah.
um, where he attends his own funeral. But it was very you see the power of the media and how one person commented on a TikTok. I was teaching at Kristen Chenoweth's boot camp, and
Wow.
someone said, "Oh, can you do your line from Jessie?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's too far." And a kid commented, "Oh, I heard he just died," and that was all. Whoever wrote that first comment,
Wow.
it exploded.
And you handled it like a true pro with an amazing video response. It was amazing. Well, Kevin, I gotta say, this has been amazing. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I could literally talk to you all day.
Well, I hope
Literally.
we get to meet in person someday
Yes,
and work
absolutely.
together.
Absolutely. That would be amazing. Directing, writing with you on that, like I'll be the
TikTok
performer.
video.
Yeah, TikTok video. I'll collab it anytime you want. It's awesome what you're doing. I really
Oh, thanks. It
appreciate.
was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was so nice meeting you, and I wanted to say too, like, the Addams Family with Kara Lee and Terrence, I love everyone involved in that show.
Yeah.
There's so many great friends of mine, Cristo Rodriguez. I there's so many mutual friends, and I've heard so much about you. So to like actually be able to chat with you and kind of talk about your career has been a really cool experience for me. So thank you.
Pleasure. It's always weird talking about my career because I feel like it's gone by in a blink. And then
Oh, I bet.
when I talk about, going back so far, I'm like, wow, it's just really, there's so much that I've done, but so much more to do.
Sure.
And it just flies by.
Yeah.
So seize the day, as they
For
say.
sure. I like the Newsies reference, the theater references here. I like it. Well, seriously, thank you again, and you have so much to celebrate, and I'm grateful that you were able to take about a day on today's show. So thank you.
Thank you, Eli.